I snapped my Achilles tendon completely, and then 5 months later, I became the deepest woman in Australia. After the Achilles rupture, I was just like, let's hone in and focus on healing and to build strength back in the whole foot, not just the Achilles. One of the tools that I use a lot to regulate myself, to come back into a better space, is moving my body, going for a walk, getting outside, doing yoga. All of those things were taken away from me. I couldn't do anything. The water amplifies what's happening in the mind. So it's quite a meditative practice. It's this quietness, this stillness, and gives you this opportunity to practice just pausing for a moment in that space of discomfort.
Before we jump into this week's episode, I wanted to steal a minute of your time to talk about something that literally changed the way I live: natural footwear. You see, most of us spend our entire lives wearing shoes just to fit in with the crowd. Before I joined TFC, I was no different. I worked as a journalist and I was spending 12 hours a day for almost a decade in these stiff, rigid dress shoes. And then before that, throughout my childhood, I was in stiff-heeled school shoes. I was in cushioned sneakers and those narrow soccer boots as well. But when I slipped on my first pair of Vivo barefoots, I felt something completely different. Freedom. My toes could finally spread, my soles could feel, and my feet could actually move the way they were meant to. It was honestly liberating. Vivo Barefoot has been such a huge part of all of our journeys here at the Foot Collective. They're not just making shoes, they're making tools that respect human health and the planet. And they've been walking alongside us for years, helping people take the first step toward better foot health. So if you're ready to start reconnecting with your foundation, check out Vivo Barefoot. You'll find the link in the show notes, and if you use the code TheFootCollective, you'll get a special discount off their shoes. What do you reckon the most common question is that we get asked by our customers? It's, where do I start on my foot health journey? And to be honest, the answer is different for everybody, and that is why we have created the Foot Health Assessment. So in less than 10 minutes now, you'll be able to answer some simple questions, go through a few foot and balance screens, and then get a score that shows you where you're at right now out of 100. Based on that, we can now give you tailored guidance on the best place to begin. Here's the kicker. Research shows that 1 in 3 adults over 65 will fall in the next 12 months. And balance problems and dizziness are really common now in adults over 40. That means this isn't just about preventing falls in older age or trying to get out of foot pain. It's about training your foundation now so that you can live a longer, happier, and healthier life. So if you're curious, you can take this free foot health assessment now. Just head to the link in the show notes. Well, Tara, thank you so much for joining us on the Restore to Explore podcast. Probably feels a bit random for you. We're first and foremost a foot health podcast, and we were just having a chat then, and I was saying, I can't wait to hear your perspectives on foot health, and you said I don't really have any, which is which is spot on, and that is absolutely cool. But the reason we have you on the show is because I think you've got a pretty unique health journey, and we really love to share stories on the Restore to Explore podcast of what people are able to do with their bodies, with the determination and sort of the go and get it attitude that you've clearly got. And also someone like yourself who hasn't gotten there the easy way and has had to overcome some pretty big hurdles. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us for a chat.
Thanks so much for having me, Mac.
Where in the world are you, first and foremost, and why are you where you are?
So I'm in a place called Sulawesi, which is in Indonesia. And I'm here training for a Freedive competition on the 1st of August.
Pretty fitting that you're a freediver. The reason that we've made this connection at all is because our head physiotherapist, Tom Williams, is engaged to your sister. And Tom is all about breath work. He is constantly praising the importance of looking after your breath. And then I had no idea until I saw him share an Instagram story of your incredible feats that you two had more in common than I could have imagined. What has your journey been to get into freediving? How does that come about?
How I started freediving about 5 years ago, I think, roughly 5 years, 5 or 6 years now. I've always loved the ocean, and I used to scuba dive a lot. So I used to travel around the world and scuba dive. And I was on this trip in the Rolly Shoals. It's in the northwest side of Australia. It takes about 16 hours overnight to get there, and it's this beautiful place where there's atolls and so much beautiful marine life. And I was on a scuba trip, and I was underwater, and I remember looking out at the beautiful reef, and this freediving friend of mine who was working on the boat at the time dove down and just looked so majestic and beautiful and elegant in the water, and was just engaging with all the marine life so much more than what I was with my bubbles on the back. And I was like, wow, I want to learn how to do what she's doing. So that afternoon I asked her if she could teach me, and I ditched the tanks the next day, and I never looked back. I just fell in love with being underwater on one breath, and the connection, and I guess the closer you become to the marine life. And there's so many beautiful things about freediving. And I guess because I also have a breath background, I'm a yoga teacher as well. I used to teach a lot of yoga and breath work. So having that kind of foundation helped me to, I guess, find freediving at the start not easy, but like I had a bit of a foundation already. So I found it really amazing.
We've heard it from Tom, but from your perspective, why is the breath so important, and why do you think you were drawn to that, I guess, as a yoga teacher and a breathwork practitioner?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as well as freediving, like the breath is very important. It plays a huge role in our nervous system, and I guess learning how to regulate your breath, it's directly connected to regulation of your nervous system. And these are the tools that I use, particularly before a deep dive, to, I guess, manipulate the way that I'm feeling, but also not manipulating my blood chemistry so much that it impedes on the dive and can cause something like hypoxia. So, the breath has been foundational for me to, I guess, my breath work prior to starting freediving was a lot around CO2, like breathing slower. So I was building up more CO2. So I had, a higher tolerance to CO2, which I think was quite a supportive method during my freediving.
Yeah, fascinating. For someone who has never freedived before, maybe they've jumped in the pool at the deep end and held their breath for 30 seconds. What is it like taking that sort of next step in freediving? And yeah, what was it like for you? Obviously, with that base capacity, I'm sure you probably found it a little easier than most to adapt. But do you sort of remember those early dives and what was going on in your head as you were getting to new depths, and what was going on in your body as well? Because I can imagine, I know when I've tried to hold my breath underwater, there's a natural instinct that says, we shouldn't be doing this. So yeah, what is it like as you're building that capacity up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I remember finding it so beautiful being under there, but equally as challenging when those moments pop up. So like when those moments come up where I'm like, oh, I feel a bit of CO2. I feel this urge to breathe. It's my body saying, like, you need to breathe now and you're underwater. So then you have this moment perhaps of panic. But this is one of the reasons why I love freediving, because it gives us this beautiful opportunity to be able to take a moment of pause in that moment of discomfort or challenge, and then to actively participate in making a choice in what to do next. So whether that is stay underwater, like just relax your shoulders, or maybe it's come back up, but it's this choice that you get to participate in. It's not a reaction, it's a choice. And I think that is such a powerful somatic experience that you get from freediving. And that's something that I used from the get-go during freediving. And I loved exploring that space.
Because the breath is something that so often we don't really have a choice in. Like it is just something that is instinctive and we just do without thinking. But to to learn to control the breath in that way under such often immense pressure, I imagine. Surely for someone like yourself, I guess, with a yoga background as well, mindfulness and mindset have probably been a big part of the way that you practice. But was this like just a whole new level to that? Did it unlock something deeper?
Do you mean freediving helped me unlock
Yeah,
these?
I guess from a mindset perspective, as you're holding your breath and trying to overcome and wrestle with that, compared to just outside of the water going through your breathwork practice.
Yeah. It's, I definitely think that, and it's like we often talk about this in freediving, that the water amplifies what's happening in the mind. So if you do have a busy mind, it's amplified underwater. Like it can, you have to work harder to be able to focus on something like sensation in the body or equalization, which is something that we have to do when we dive deep, to pay attention to something else rather than the mind stuff that's going on, and to pour your attention into the body. So it's quite a meditative practice. And I think that the water kind of forces me to come into that space, because otherwise you feel uncomfortable and you come back up.
Yeah. You fell in love with it, obviously, and were hooked. It's the reason you are where you are today. How did it sort of progress? Like, what sort of meters are you diving at the beginning, and how quickly did your skill develop, and how deep were you able to get?
Yeah, I guess I started at the roller shoals, starting maybe 10 or 15 meters, just like going down and exploring. And then I did my first kind of course and did the requirements there. So kind of steadily went up to 20 to 30 meters. I lived in a place called Broome for quite a long time. It's a very beautiful location where we would dive in this place called the Roebuck Deeps. It's a huge trench with very bad visibility. But I was diving 40 meters there, and it's it's not the most conducive place to dive with the sharks, and there's irriganges and all sorts there. But that was probably my maybe second year of freediving. I started diving around about the 40-meter mark. And then I took a year off. I took a sabbatical from work, and I traveled. I spent a lot of time in Egypt, in Dahab, and I think I've just got this mindset where I get hooked. Like when I am so passionate about something, which I am about freediving and this exploration of self, I just hook in and just like put all of my time and energy into it. And then I went from 40 meters to 80 meters in 12 months, essentially. Over that time being in Egypt, where I'm also surrounded by some really great freedivers and a really beautiful location to dive. And then I started my first freediving competition last year, where I did some great dives in that comp, and then did some more this year, one more comp this year, and I've got another one next week.
That's pretty remarkable to go from 40 meters to 80 meters in the space of 12 months. I mean, I think most people can't even imagine doing a 4-meter dive. Take me back to Broome and diving there with the sharks, with the irrikanji, which for people who don't know what the irrikanji are like a jellyfish, like a pretty deadly jellyfish. That's a pretty good primer to teach the body, I'm guessing, how to handle stress underwater. What were some of the encounters like there? Are there any sort of memorable moments?
Yeah, so many. I was actually stung by an irriganji in Broome, but I wasn't freediving at the time. I guess I helped my systems, like I survived. It was fine.
Yeah.
I had to go to hospital for a little bit. But we had some really great encounters. We would be diving and hearing the whales in the background. You could hear them sing as you're down underwater. We had this tiger shark once come up to us, and it was so beautiful. It's a huge, beautiful animal. And it was just, yeah, came straight up to us, and we were like, oh, it's a beautiful tiger shark. And then we were kind of just like, okay, we'll just watch it. And if it keeps approaching us, that means let's pack up and leave and go to the next spot, give it some space. And then I did come back again. But it was just a very beautiful experience. It's a very beautiful animal in the sea in the ocean. Yeah, the visibility in Broome isn't incredible. Sometimes it is. You get neat tides and then the visibility improves. But yeah, some of the time the visibility is quite shocking. So you can't see too much. You just close your eyes.
And then that's 40 meters to 80 meters. Can you put that into perspective for listeners? Like, how long are you underwater when you're diving 80 meters? What are you seeing as you're getting down to those depths? I've watched the videos on your Instagram, and it's mesmerizing and looks so peaceful and beautiful. But surely, as I guess as you're training to get to that, then it becomes naturally that way. But yeah, what are you experiencing as you're going that deep?
Yeah, it's so technical. Like I'm experiencing so much, and not all the dives feel incredible. In terms of like, I guess just like you're going to plan to play a game, right? If you're a sport, I don't know, like a soccer player, you've got to play. It's similar in terms of I have a layout of the entire dive, so I know what I'm doing. Every 5 meters, there's something else to focus on, whether it's charging my mouthfeel, which is my way to equalize my eustachian tubes or my ears at depth, and managing that air, whether it's pulling, whether it's kicking, whether it's relaxing my shoulders. There's different stages of using this air in your mouth to be able to equalize at certain depths. So I used to keep my dives quite subjective in terms of just quite falling into the deep and like connecting to this beautiful place. And I still have that element of love and connection to the ocean. But more recently, particularly in the last competition that I did, I've been moving towards a bit more of a logical approach in terms of setting it out on the way down, in particular, where I have these key things I need to do. And I just kind of, I perform those tasks, and it helps me to focus on the task at hand in that very moment. And then the way up, I can feel all the things that I'm feeling, where all I need to do then is come back up to the surface. So one of the hardest things of freediving is I guess in a competition, is getting to the bottom.
Wow. It's almost like a dance, and you're just trying to make sure you get all of the steps right. In that regard, like, you must have a pretty good idea pretty early or at any stage throughout that dive, is if it's a good one, I'm guessing. Like, you would know pretty quickly if this one is good or if this one is bad, and it's time to come back up. Like, is that the case? Like, you could get halfway sometimes and go, nah, this isn't the one.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Mac, because it's like, it all depends on my mouthfeel. Like, it depends if I'm managing this air. If I swallow the air in my mouth, it's game over. I can't equalize. I have to come back up. So, but I do know about halfway or 3/4 of the way, if I've got a good mouthfeel, if I've managed it well to that point, I can typically make it to the bottom, depending on what depth it is, obviously. But in terms of if you know it's a good dive or a bad dive, not all dives are good. So like today, I actually didn't feel the best. Like I did a deep dive, but not all sensations felt incredible. So that's okay. It's a part of it, and that's something that I've been kind of playing with as an athlete, is allowing that to be the case. You know, not every dive has to be an amazing dive, and some dives can feel okay or average. And that's a part of it. That's a part of the journey. That's a part of progressing. So not having expectations for each dive to feel amazing, but still continuing on the journey regardless.
You're a competitive person naturally. Like, was there a hunger when you got into this to break records and to be one of the best, or like you were saying before, there was an emotional sort of natural tether to the experience? At what point did it switch?
I definitely still have the emotional connection to being in the ocean. I think perhaps because I'm also female and like I really love, not saying that males can't have this experience as well, but I'm very connected to myself, and I love the connection that I get from the water and the stuff that comes up from that relationship that I have being in the water. I am a competitive person, definitely. My sister would agree. Tom would also agree. At Christmas, we play a little table tennis. So yeah, I am quite a competitive person. But the start, the first couple of years of my Freedive journey, I didn't at all think about competing. I just wanted to explore that space that I spoke about earlier, where we get to explore this discomfort and this unknown and explore self a little bit more. I guess because I was diving reasonably quite deep, so I was hitting levels where close to where the national record is, the closest where the deepest women of Australia depths are. So I was like, let's give it a crack. Let's see what a comp's like. And I also wanted to put myself in a position where I really had to focus and drill down on those aspects around regulating self, regulating nervous system in quite a intense situation, because the competition is very rigid in terms of you have an OT, an official top, and you have to go down within 30 seconds of that official top. So if you miss that time, if a wave comes over and splashes in their face or something, like you still have to go down. It can be quite it can cause a bit of an anxiety. So you really have to I guess practice and practice and practice, regulate your nervous system, understand that you can do the dive, trust you can do the dive, to allow that dive to be a successful dive. So
On top of everything else. And then you got to dive.
Yeah.
And before and we will get to the record break, but before this, you had a bit of a hurdle that you had to overcome. Not a bit of a hurdle, a pretty big hurdle. I'm guessing you were in the midst of training and knowing that you were going to go for this record, and then you had the injury. What happened?
Yeah, so I was living in Cairns for maybe 3 or 4 months over Christmas and January. And I snapped my Achilles tendon completely playing social netball randomly. I don't play social netball. Played once because I moved there trying to make friends. I was like, I'll play social netball. Snapped my Achilles. So that was in January where I snapped my Achilles completely in January, and then 5 months later I competed at the Asian Freedive Cup, where I became the deepest woman in Australia. So I worked very hard over that 5-month period. I wasn't expecting to reach those depths at all. Like particularly after the Achilles rupture, I fell into a hole, which I don't normally fall into. I feel like I'm quite good at regulating my emotions and nervous system, and I don't get low that often, but I definitely was very low, because one of the tools that I use a lot to regulate myself to come back into a better space is moving my body, is going for a walk, watching the sunset, getting outside, doing yoga. And all of those things were taken away from me. I couldn't do anything. I had to have surgery, so I wasn't able to walk for about 2 months total. And I just had to stay put, just walk on crutches. I had a cast. Beautiful Tom, who works with you, was giving me lots of things that I could do. So even though, yeah, I couldn't do a lot of things. I was able to wiggle my toes, and he's got me like doing these like small things to help the blood flow from going into my foot, even like a couple of days after my surgery. And yeah, it gave me a really great program to follow so I could still move my body. I could still do parts of yoga. I could still go to the gym. And I eventually found, found, I guess, myself again during that quite a challenging time.
It is something that I think a lot of our listeners will be able to relate to, is that loss of function of the feet, whether it is through quite a severe injury like that, or just general foot pain. Like a lot of our listeners are struggling to do day-to-day things because the thing that carries them around, their feet, are no longer working like they should. Did it give you a newfound appreciation for your foundation? Did you, I guess, not being able to use them for 2 months, a couple of weeks would be enough for people to sort of go, wow, we're pretty lucky to have these things.
Absolutely. Oh my God. I was living in a share house. My beautiful roommates were so helpful, but not being able to, after having to rely on them to, I couldn't walk and make a cup of tea because I was on crutches. So like I couldn't like get back to the room. It was really challenging. I also think that looking back in hindsight now, I learned a lot about my feet mechanics, cramps as well. I used to get cramps when I was freediving by fins quite often. And I think a lot of the work that we did to heal and the rehab journey really helped me with cramps, because I obviously lost a lot of muscle in my left leg where the rupture was. My calf was extremely weak, and I was getting a lot of cramps. So we did a lot of work to be able to hone in on that and practice these really boring but instrumental like exercises to be able to heal and to build strength back in the whole foot, not just the Achilles. Like, and yet Tom got me doing lots of things around like just moving the big toe and then just moving all the other toes. So it was like quite boring, but I had nothing else to do. I was just like, let's hone in and focus on healing in whatever capacity I can, as quickly as I possibly can. So I was pouring myself into the healing to try to speed it up as fast as I could.
So it was 2 months off your feet. At what stage were you able to get back in the water? Because it was 5 months, you said, and between the injury and when you broke the record. So
Yeah,
you
I
would have
was in
been
the
straight
water.
to work.
Yeah, I was in the water actually 2 weeks after. I would go to the pool almost every day in my crutches, walk up as soon as I got the cast off, and as soon as the wound was there, I got the all clear to get in the water again, which was about just over 2 weeks after the surgery. I would crutch my way to the pool, get to the pool, take my boot off, get a pool toy, put it between my legs, and just swim. just do freestyle every day, just to keep me sane and build strength, practice my breath regulation, get the blood flowing, and then eventually I could free dive. That was actually the following weekend after that. I wasn't able to safety, but I would just free dive without using my legs. So I would just use the line. So it's a discipline called free immersion. We have this really cool lake called Lake Itchen in Cairns. And
Oh, well.
You do?
Yeah, I lived up in Cairns for a year. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It's dark and eerie though, this lake. It's
it's a volcano, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that Lake Itchen? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cold. It's got a huge thermocline at about 10, 15 meters. So dark, eerie. There's a croc in there.
Yeah.
And we would go free diving in there. But I was diving in the lake with my beautiful friends who would carry me to the water, literally. So put my boot off at the car, chuck me on their back, bring me to the water. I'll just wait there. They'll go get the buoy from the car, bring it over to the water, and then I can swim. So we'll swim out, and then I would just free dive down using my arms and hands to practice things like EQ and mouthfeel drills and CO2 tolerance, and yeah, but just did whatever I could at every step of the way.
And then obviously kicking is a relatively important part of the whole thing, especially to get to 82 meters. When were you able to do that again?
It was like maybe after the surgery, maybe like I wasn't able to wear fins really until I got to a med. So I did training in a med probably even a week before, so Easter roughly. So yeah, maybe like 3 months for 3.5 months afterwards. And I was just would wear short fins. I guess I did, like I was in the gym as soon as I got the all clear from, or even if I didn't, I was just trying to build the strength back in my legs because I know how important that is for kicking. So I was in the gym with my moon boot with this elevation, doing squats and deadlifts and trying to build the strength back. And then as soon as I could kick without fins, I was doing that in the pool. So that was really, really good exercise, just doing freestyle kicking. And then eventually I did a lot of no fins in the pool underwater, which is another discipline. And then eventually I put on my short fins in the pool, and eventually I put on my long fins again, where I could, practice building that strength up and just, yeah.
So talk me then through the world record breaking dive. What was that whole experience like?
Yeah, so the national record that I did for by fins, or that was 82 meters. I had done it in practice already, so which is really nice to be able to, I guess, have a little bit more confidence. I did an 83 in training, so I had confidence, which I think is such an important part of freediving. When you believe that you can do the dive, if you've done the dive and it felt good, it allows your whole system, your nervous system, to relax into it. So for me, that was quite an important part of being able to do the dive successfully in a competition setting where the nerves are higher. And the dive itself was a really beautiful dive. It was at a place called Super Home in Panglao in the Philippines. And yeah, the whole dive, I guess I had planned out in with my coach. So I know exactly, what depths I'm charging this mouth to, what depths I start to free fall, which is a term used to not do anything apart from just sink. And it feels so, so good. So because of the buoyancy shifts and the pressure on top of us when we're diving so deep, and because the lungs shrink down, the weight of us we become like a rock. So then you can just sink down and not do anything and just fall into the ocean. And if you can feel a bit of pressure, and it just feels quite nice. Like I really enjoy the feeling. Some people don't enjoy the feeling. I really enjoy the feeling of a bit of pressure and kind of like a warm, tight hug around my body. Changes my biochemistry in the body, my blood chemistry, makes me feel really nice. Sometimes I get a little bit narcotic, and eventually this ball lands in your hand at the bottom of the dive if you reach the bottom, and then you have to grab a tag from the bottom to show that you've made it, and then you make your way back up.
Wow. When you grabbed that tag, must have felt pretty special.
Yeah, I do remember, but yeah, I really love the feeling of successfully reaching the bottom. It does feel really, really nice. I guess it's, the end of all of the training that you've done, and you get this one opportunity to be able to do the dive. And when it becomes a successful dive, it gives you a big boost of energy, which is really nice to feel on the way up.
Where to next then? If 82 is the Australian record for a female, what's the next goal?
I mean, just keep going deeper, seeing where my body can take me. I love exploring. Like from the start, I've always loved just exploring, our limits, what my body's capable of, exploring that space of fear and discomfort, and just kind of each time just making another step forward into that space. That's always been my approach, never jumping, and just kind of slowly increasing depth each time and just seeing where it takes me. So yeah, just keep going. There's a comp. I've got another comp in 9 days now, here in Sulawesi. But yeah, I'm just going to keep exploring.
Love it. For people listening who, probably have never tried freediving before, what would you recommend someone who is maybe intrigued about the potential of the breath, wants to get a taste of that sensation that you're talking about, obviously within their own limits? Like, where do people start? What would you be recommending for someone so they can experience it for themselves?
I reckon get in the water. Yeah, jump straight into the water, grab a mask, grab a snorkel, grab a mate, grab a buddy, and just I guess explore snorkeling to start with. Get comfortable wearing something on your face, breathing through a snorkel, looking at the beautiful ocean wherever you are. And if you're interested in kind of going down and diving, then I recommend reaching out to your local freediving club. There are a lot of freediving clubs around Australia. Most towns have one, or most cities have more than one. So yeah, reaching out to your local club and seeing what kind of things they have in place, perhaps doing a course. So you can do freedive courses. I'm a Molchanov freediving instructor, so Molchanov is a really great organization to do a freediving course with. You can do your wave 1, 2, and 3, and you get to learn all of the basics on freediving, the biochemistry, what's happening in the body, how to breathe beforehand, what to do after the dive, and it helps you to kind of progress in depth as well.
Unreal. And in terms of the why would you encourage people to give freediving a go? Is it the physical health benefits, the mental health benefits? I'm sure probably a bit of both. What would be your call out to people to pay more attention to their breath and give freediving or any kind of diving a go?
Yeah, definitely both physical and mental. I would say maybe even more mental when you're learning, for sure, because I really love this opportunity that we get with freediving, where we can explore our limits, where we can explore discomfort, where you can explore fear and practice choosing rather than reacting. I think that's such an incredible experience to partake in, and the water really supports that journey, because you're kind of forced to make that choice. And I know a lot of people also have fear of being in the water, and of course the feeling of CO2, as you would know, can feel uncomfortable. And when you're placed in an environment where you're underwater, it can add to that. So it really kind of amplifies the experience and gives you this opportunity to practice just pausing for a moment in that space of discomfort and actively participating in a choice, whether that's coming back up, going back down, or just staying still and relaxing your shoulders, relaxing the face.
It sounds like it builds resilience as well. I mean, from what you've been through with your own injuries, I know you said you found some dark depths when the injury first happened, but I think from what you've been talking about, surely this experience with diving is a pretty key contributing factor to how you were able to bounce back.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think freediving helps you to learn more about yourself. It sheds light on these areas of yourself that we don't often look at, don't need to look at, don't have to look at. So yeah, you get to really connect with yourself in a deeper way, and find out what actually is really important to you. Often on a hang, I have like moments of being like like epiphanies, or like what this connection is, or what I should do next. And it's this quietness, this stillness, where there's this space, and you get it's just a really a great place to be able to get to know yourself more and watch and observe the common thoughts that do pop into your mind and practice coming back to sensation, just like meditation.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Tara. It's been awesome to hear your story, and yeah, really appreciate you taking the time and writing out the dodgy internet connection with us all the way from Indonesia. It's been awesome to have a chat and share your story. We're very excited to keep following along and seeing how much deeper you can go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thanks for listening to the Restore to Explore podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to hear more or watch more, then the best thing you can do is give us a like, a follow, or a subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. And of course, leave a review. That support means that we can continue creating more educational content like this for our community. If you would like to learn more about our tools, our training, natural footwear, just explore the shop or some of our free resources, then the best place that you can go to is thefootcollective.com. And like we mentioned throughout this episode, we do have a special discount for our listeners in the show notes. Thanks for listening.